This week on Merchants of Change, we've got Danya Abrams. Danya played Division I basketball for the Boston College Eagles before playing professionally in Europe. After his playing career, he became an entrepreneur, starting his own insurance and financial services company, while also being the radio broadcaster for Boston College basketball. He recently co-founded Diverse Athlete Placement, the newest and most exciting partner of Shift Group, working with us to bring our world-class curriculum to athletic departments across the country, helping student athletes during and after their college athletic journeys. Here he is, Danya Abrams.
I'm J.R. Butler, co-founder and CEO of the Shift Group, and you're listening to Merchants of Change. This is a podcast about transferring the skills and behaviors we acquire as athletes and military veterans into becoming a professional salesperson. Each week, we'll introduce you to a top performer who will help us understand how they became professional merchants of change.
What's up, kid? Today on the show, we got Danya Abrams. Danya, thank you for joining, man.
No, thanks. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on.
I'm excited to have you, man. Sometimes I get to interview people that I consider friends already. So I'm pumped that we get to capture this conversation for our audience. And so our audience, DA, is it's obviously, you know, folks that are getting out of athletics, playing athletics now and trying to think about what's next. Folks that have already made the transition and they're early. And then we have a lot of like executives and leaders that listen to the pod. Our guests are always, you know, former athletes and of course, military veterans, because we help veterans as well that have had success in the business world. And what the kind of structure we like to follow is start with your playing career, talk a little bit about your transition, talk about what you've done and where you're headed in business. And then obviously we have some special topics to cover, specifically a brand new partnership between Shift Group and a group that you and some other folks have started that I'm really excited to get into. So we'll save some time at the end to talk through that. Sound like a plan?
Absolutely. I'm all for it.
All right, brother. So I always ask a very broad question at the beginning. What's the first thing that comes into your brain when I say, what are your favorite memories from your basketball career?
Wow. Man, I've been fortunate. I got a lot of good memories. The first one, I guess I'll start when I was in high school, was being named Mr. Basketball in the state of New York. You know, all the players that come out of the state of New York, you know, from the Stephon Marburys, the Felipe Lopez's, and so on and so on. For them to give me a call and say that you've been selected as a player of the year in the state of New York was Mr. Basketball was awesome. Moving on to the collegiate, playing at Boston College in the Big East, winning there's a lot of them. First year, we got to beat North Carolina in the NCAA tournament, you know, got to the Elite Eight, got to beat Indiana twice in the tournament, Bobby Knight, you know, a legend. Beating Dean Smith, who's a legend, and winning the Big East regular season and winning at the Garden at home in front of my friends and families for the tournament championship. So it's quite a few, JR. Not bragging, but there's quite a few, man. Those are the ones that sit on top.
Dude, the Mecca. You got to win it in the Mecca. That's incredible, dude.
Dude, like unbelievable. Like even talking about it now, I'm getting goosebumps.
Me too.
It was awesome seeing my family there. You know, my brothers and sisters and uncles and mom and cousins, nieces, nephews, and even the ones that weren't really cousins and nieces and nephews. You know, just being there, it was awesome.
I can't imagine as a New York kid what that was like. I mean, I'm from Boston, but even I know when you say the Garden, there's a 1A and there's a 1B, and MSG wins out, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
How do you think, DA, how do you think your teammates from like those days, how do you think they would describe you?
You know what? I always try to model myself as, you know, a hard worker, passionate about, the game of basketball, but a better teammate than a better player. Even though I got a lot of accolades, I always tried to be the best teammate on the team. Not just from scoring points, rebounding, defending and blocks, but just a high character guy on the court. Now, if you played against me, you thought I was an a-hole.
I love it. I love it. I like how you describe that, like a teammate over player, kind of like, being that guy, and part of that, I think, when you're a great teammate, you're kind of setting the standard of expectation for the rest of your teammates too, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was very fortunate. I got to BC. I was a freshman. Everyone, was like, "Oh, you had a great career there," which I did, but they don't understand the hard work that you put in just to get to that situation. And I want to say the first 2 months, I didn't even start. I was coming off the bench, and I just learned, oh, this is what you want. You want me to rebound, play defense and pass the ball to Bill Curley, Howard Isley, Malcolm Huckabee, and Gerard Abrams. Okay, for me to start, I could do that. That's easy. So it was a learning curve, but I just they had great mentors ahead of me that taught me the ropes.
That's amazing. And did you played after BC, right? You played professionally?
I did. So had a little stint with the NBA right before the lockout in '97. I was down with the Spurs with Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Corey Alexander, those guys. The point guard Avery. I mean, it was awesome. Vinny Del Negro, Sean Elliott, and
Wow.
and I couldn't get my shot off for 2 days as good as I was with the Twin Towers there. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. Did you go over to Europe at all?
So then after that, I had lost my position to a guy named Malik Rose, which, shout out to Malik Rose, great player. Wouldn't have wanted to lose my spot to anyone else but him. And I went to Europe and got caught up with my contract over there. So during the lockout, they had 98. I couldn't get out of it because I was playing so well over there. And then Spurs wound up beating the Knicks for the championship that year.
Whoa. Unreal. I mean,
It
still
was brutal, but hey, you know what? It's everything happens for a reason, brother.
totally. Listen, still part of the story, man. Still part of the story. Now it pains me to say this as a Holy Cross grad, but Boston College is a phenomenal higher ed institution. How prepared were you for the transition? Did you have a plan? Like, did you know exactly what you wanted to do when basketball was over? Let's talk. Tell me a little bit about what that looked like for you.
Well, going into college, I went to BC because it was, like you say, it was a high academic institution. I never had aspirations of playing professionally. I thought I was good, but not like the Allen Iversons, the Ray Allens of the world. And then when you get on that platform and you're playing, you're like, man, like they breathe just like me. They eat just like me. They have bad games just like me. And I turned out to be a great player at the Big East level, being, first team All Big East 3 times and making rookie of the, not rookie of the year, first team All Big East rookie team. So all 4 years I was, honored and, through the platforms. But it's like anything in life, now the professional teams started coming. NBA scouts were there. If I left my junior year, I probably would have been, a 15 to 22 pick. But I said, hey, I'll stay and get my degree, which I promised my family I would, and wound up getting hurt my senior year and, fell out of the draft board. But all in all, to answer your question, no, you think you have a plan, but until you get out into the work field and, after professional sports, as much as you were prepared, academically, socially, emotionally, and physically for the school, you're not doing career developments. You're not going to entrepreneurships. So when you leave from playing pro ball, and I was there for about 13 years, you're coming back as a rookie again in the workplace. And I was stuck, had no idea what I wanted to do. Luckily, I made a little bit of money, but I was still like, well, how am I going to figure this out?
100%. Now, I saw a note, and I didn't know this about you, even though we've talked a lot. You did a stop at Dunkin's for a little while.
Yeah. I was at Duncan for about almost 4 or 5 years.
Wow,
You know,
wow,
so and it was the people that know me know, it was a family business. Shout out to Clayton Turnbull, Kevin Reynolds, and Linda Turnbull for running a great organization over there, and they gave me an opportunity to run some stores, and that was where I got my learning in HR, understanding P&Ls, understanding labor costs, food costs, and running. Don't look at it as a Dunkin' Donuts on one side as a customer, but on the other side, looking at it as it's an entity, it's a career, and it's a big corporation, and I learned a lot doing scheduling, employees, and baking donuts, baking bagels, up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was a grind, but it made me a better person.
I mean, listen, you take out Duncan there. You just described an MBA. Like you got your MBA at Duncan, essentially. Um, did
I
you
did.
go? Did you go right from there into the industry that you're in now, DA, or were there a couple stops in between?
Yeah. So during that, I realized that as much as I love my family, I just felt like I had better things out there to do, and if it didn't work out, as being a family company, I could always go back and work. So I did a dab with coaching. I did some AAU coaching, coached basketball at Wentworth, right there in downtown Boston, across the street from Northeastern, with Tom Devitt. Gave me an opportunity to coach there for 2 years. And then, life happened. And then I said, you know what? I got into the insurance and financials and, took a shot on myself.
Yeah, it's such an amazing industry, and as you know, like that's kind of some of the things that we're working on together. And I think, like, a big part of what you've accomplished there kind of starts, in my opinion, with sales, right? Like it's all about sales. So curious to know, like, when you made that move over into the insurance and financial services space, and you made that transition, like what are some of the skills and traits and processes that you started to recognize that were similar between your athletic career and that like initial entrepreneurial sales career? What were the things that were immediately translatable?
Yeah, no, I mean, the things that were, immediate and transferable was that one, you got to work hard, and nothing's given and nothing's easy. If you put in the work and stick to your process and stick to your game plan, like I call it, even though it's work, success will happen. You can't be afraid of failing. We've all missed a game winning shot, a game winning field goal. Sure, you miss a couple of slap shots in your life,
Totally.
but wide open, just missed it. But what happens is you don't realize it at the time is that it's building character, it's building, your whole demeanor of who you want to be in life. And when I got into the insurance and financial sales, it was like, hey, like you have to have it. Why not me? What's the difference? So those transferable skills were critically important for me. And I just didn't realize it at that young age. But when I got into the work field, I was like, wow, people say it's hard, but getting up at 5 in the morning, doing, workouts and going to lift and then going through everything else, that was hard. This is just something that you wake up mentally. I'd rather be mentally tired than physically tired any day.
Yeah, yeah. And in the working world, they're paying you to do it, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes. You don't know what day your coach is coming in. You don't know what he's like that day. So at least when I come to work, I know I got that check.
100%. Yeah. And I think like what I'm hearing from you, and we talk about this a lot, right? Like resiliency is a muscle, and it's like anything else.
Yeah.
You want to work on that muscle, you got to go through hard times. You got to do hard shit. You have to do stuff that you don't want to do and still do it with the same conviction that is as if it's something that you love. And I think as an athlete, you develop that in your career. So when you got into your kind of the corporate world, that was probably pretty the easier part for you, right?
Yeah, no, the thing I learned in sales and in the corporate world is that it's kind of like, you have a scouting game plan. You know this guy likes to go left. You know he's going to do that, and you know the structure. Like, these are the tendencies. But when I got into sales in the corporate world, the 10 out of 10 people you think would do business with you don't, and then you realize, like, oh, all these other people want to do it. So you can't get too high or too low if someone does something or doesn't. You just got to keep sticking to the principles and work through it.
I have to imagine DA like go into a whole new industry in terms of insurance and financial services. That there was like that growth mindset, that coachability, that must have played a huge role, especially with the success that you've had since you've got into it. Is that a fair? Is that like a fair assessment?
Oh, absolutely. Because, you look at me now, I started the company in 2014, 10 years later. Um, it wasn't easy. There was a lot of no's, a lot of days where, the wife wasn't happy with the paycheck. But you just got to stick to it, stick to your game plan, and you get the fruits of the labor later. But it's always something that you got to do, and stick to it, and just thrive and work with it, and the outcomes will come. But there were some things where you have your game plan and it didn't work. So just like a coach, you got to call the audible. Hey, this is not working. Let's figure out this. Let's see what was successful, what wasn't, and that's what the coachability of athletes. You're able to transfer any type of skill set into the sales.
Totally, totally. And I love that you called out like the delayed gratification of I mean, it's not just sales, it's business in general. And I think, you're when you're up early in the morning, shooting in the gym, you're not going to see the results of that till March when you're in college, right? So like that ability to work hard despite that delayed gratification, that's another thing that's a muscle, it's a skill. Most people, especially nowadays, they want to do something and they want to get a return on it right away. And that's just not how the
Yes.
real world works. So I'm really glad you called that out.
Yeah, no, you know how it is. You got a nice business going on, and you have the idea, you have the blueprint, and guess what? A lot of people are like, you're crazy to do it, just like me. Like, why would you do that? You're making good money here. You're doing this. Why would you want to venture on your own? You know what? Hey, you just got to stick to it. And I'm not saying this for everyone, but if you stick to the principles and work hard, it's not to be cliche. It all can happen.
Totally, totally. Now I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're gonna announce the exciting news. But if taking away the news that we're about to announce, if a senior
Yep.
at Boston College were to call you today, what kind of advice would you give them about thinking about their transition and thinking about what they're going to do when they become an adult, right? Like what's that conversation look like?
Yeah, I mean, I try to look back and go through everything that I've gone through, and you always try to put yourself in that athlete's, airspace. I would tell them that when you graduate, and if you don't know what you don't want to do, that's common. It's okay. But what I will say is that there are resources out there that you can use to help you get in front of certain people. I would also say use your network. 9 times out of 10, that guy that's the walk on at the end of the bench, he's probably going to be a CEO of something. Stay close to your contacts. You
Yes.
know, Definitely reach out to not only athletes but the student body when go out there and co-mingle with people. And but at the end of the day, lean on your support and your alumni and network, and that's why you went to that school. So just because you graduated and you're not bouncing the ball or skating or playing football, volleyball, lacrosse, soccer, tennis, track, use that network. And the one thing I always tell them is a closed mouth doesn't get fed. We know who you are, but if you don't say anything, we think you're okay.
That's very well said. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. I like that one better though.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
And it's so true. Like your network is your net worth. Like you have to activate that network, and it's got to become part of your motion. And I don't care if you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, you want to work in sales, you want to be a teacher. The better job you do of building your network, the more options and opportunities you're going to have. So awesome stuff. Now, big announcement. So, Shift Group is very excited to officially be partnering with Diverse Athlete Placement, which Danya is the CEO and founder of. Um, Before we get into the partnership, can you just talk a little bit about like how DAP came to be and why it's so important to you, DA?
Yeah, no, Diverse Athlete Placement is a company that I co-founded with Andrew Merkin. We were talking about how he ran a lot of nonprofits, did a lot of stuff in the inner city, and we related and connected to that. And we were just talking like, man, like what if we could do something like that for student athletes across the board, at the collegiate level, where as athletes during the season, you're not able to go to a lot of career fairs. You're not able to go to career development, career services. You're worried about working out, doing school, staying eligible, and when you're able to have, attend maybe one or two parties a month. But but the main part was like we wanted to sit down and say, how can we get the student body, of athletics to commingle with society and basically benefit from what they've done. And like I know, once we've gotten older, sports and society is a direct correlation to what's successful in the workplace.
Totally.
It's perfectly like if the Bruins lose, they had a perfect season, they're doing well, and they go out in the first round, second round, you're devastated for the next week. So there's a big correlation there, and a lot of employers want to hire athletes, military, policemen, because they have that core foundation and want to work hard. So we basically took Diverse Athlete Placement and helped, wanted to help these young athletes with career readiness, LinkedIn preparation, resume writing, their social skills, dress code, the whole gamut of what it takes to be in the workplace.
Yep, absolutely. And I think there's, a level even below that when you just look at the name of the company, right? Like not everybody, not everybody grows up really understanding what type of opportunities are out there because of where they grew up, who they grew up around. I'm a great example of a first generation college graduate, and there's literally millions of athletes out there who don't understand exactly what their platform gives them in terms of future opportunities. And I think many things that excites me about our partnership is I think it would be disingenuous for me to pretend that my experience coming out of college is the same as everybody else's, right? And I think the fact that, DAP being you and Andrew's background and really understanding where those kids are coming from and trying to show them the path, I think that's going to be a huge differentiator. And that's really what excites me about this partnership, DA.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've been a tremendous advocate for us. When we started doing this, obviously, you do your due diligence, your research, and we were fortunate enough to you. Like I said, we laughed. It was 2 years ago. We're sitting down in South Station having a bagel or something, and here we are 2 years later. Like it was just an idea, and now we're like, wow, we're partnering. And much success to Shift Group. We love what you do, your platform, and what you're doing with student athletes. And I just wanted to be able to give the not only minority students but all students, diverse students, the ability to understand, like, hey, you see me now, but I was homeless. Grew up in New York in the projects. And it can be done. You just have to have that game plan, that blueprint. And if you have the game plan and blueprint, even if you deviate a little, as long as you're staying on that course, you're able to stay back and get in line. So I'm extremely excited about this partnership. in what you guys do, and you know, we learn every day, Jr.
Absolutely. And to add a little more color about what the joint partnership means for our audience, um, we're not just going to focus on, like, that transition point for student athletes, because if you think about it, that transition is helped by what you do leading up to that transition, right? And I think, like, what we have as a team, as a combination, is this, like, unique offering of seminars and direct coaching. We're obviously going to be delivering some, like, online self-led curriculum that Shift Group is famous for, but we're going to add things to that. We're going to be offering speaking engagements, right? So things around, like, academic excellence, developing mental resilience. I think, where we really see DAP and Shift Group really see name, image, likeness as an opportunity for student athletes to level the career playing field a little bit, right? Because to your point, I think you and I have a shared experience in our summers. Our summers were in the gym. Yours were on the court. Mine were on the ice. I couldn't go take my that internship that my peers did at Goldman Sachs, right? I had to get ready for the next season. And I think, and I think you and Andrew agree with me, that name, image, likeness, beyond an opportunity to make a little extra money, and if I was in college, I always say for me, it would be about going from Bush Light to Bud Light. But I think, like, beyond that, right? It's a resume builder, and it's another opportunity to your point, to start building that network and creating that snowball as you get out, right? The other big piece that I'm excited about is this professional network training, right? Like, I got to Holy Cross, and I know you can relate to this. And one of the
Yep.
reasons I chose Holy Cross, and I'm sure one of the reasons you chose BC, was because they have this amazing alumni network. But I was a 19-year-old punk in jean shorts and a gold chain from, central Massachusetts. And they're like, hey, this is, like, a general partner at the biggest law firm in Boston. I don't know, like, nobody prepared me for that conversation. I don't know how to talk to that guy. I don't know how to build a relationship. I don't know how to set a meeting with him, run the meeting, follow up on the meeting, and then, like, maintain a relationship. So, like, training like that is going to be so incredibly powerful for all the student athletes that we're going to be able to touch between Shift Group's reach and diverse athlete placements reach. And, of course, we're still going to do the teach you how to tell your story and give you a place to explore careers and do career upskilling
Absolutely.
and build a career profile. But we're not just going to wait for you, your senior spring to start preparing you, because the sooner you prepare, the more prepared you're going to be when you make that move. And I think the combination of our two companies bringing this to market together is going to be an absolute game changer for the universities and the athletic departments that choose to partner with us, DA.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of buzz. A lot of schools are interested, signed up already. Also about the give back that you do and we do. So I'm very excited to get rolling with this partnership. This is life changing for student athletes, and not only student athletes, but for the administrations of collegiate colleges, coaches as well. So we're just an add-on, and it's tremendous for what you do and what we're doing to the student body.
That's an important call out. I'm glad you said that, because we're in a different age of college athletics, as you know. We've essentially created an environment of almost free agency. So the coaches and the administrators have to like start treating their student athletes like the customer that they are, and giving these types of services, right? The regular old, like, resume workshop and the regular old career fair that you used to do, everybody's doing that. You've got to go to those recruits that are coming on campus and you're meeting with mom and dad. You got to be able to really paint a picture of the entire experience, and not just what this kid's going to feel in the 4 years that they're on campus, but what's it going to mean for the next 40 years? And that's the program that I think DAP and Shift Group are bringing to market. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a game changer, DA, and I'm really excited to partner with you and Andrew on it.
No, I mean, enough said, man. Like you nailed it, and and not only that, like you're good peoples, man. Anybody that I can hang out with, and, I love having a laugh with. And that's the problem. When we have meetings, you like, D, we got to get to it. Like, I got 30 minutes. Can't have 10 minutes of messing around. So
yeah,
you even hold us accountable, JR. That's what I love about it. It's teamwork, baby. It's teamwork.
and we're only going to get closer, man. I'm excited. We still haven't even played golf yet together, so that's when it's really gonna buzz. Oh man.
I know that's right. Yes, sir.
So DA, last question for you. When people approach me, they say, JR, why do you focus on veterans and athletes specifically? And what I always tell them is, listen, an athlete knows what it means to get dialed in. And I think you and with your athletic career, you know exactly what I'm talking about in sports. But what does it mean to you to be dialed in life after sports?
That's a great question. All I could call is like when it's like when you're in that zone on the ice or on the court, and you think back of where you grew up, days where you didn't know if you were going to eat, you didn't have the best clothes. Not saying that I splurge on myself anyway now, because you always see me in sweatsuits, but it's nothing like being in the zone when you're doing the right thing for people, for clients, for customers, and you're also getting a great ROI on it, and you don't feel like you're selling your soul for it. So that's the best way I could put it. It's something that's needed. It's something that's undervalued, and the people that get it love it, and then the people that don't understand it, we're here to explain it to you. And once you meet with JR, myself, or Andrew, you're going to be enamored, and you're going to sign up right away. So, and that's not just me being cocky or confident. It's just, it is what it is.
I couldn't agree more. DA, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for giving us your time, buddy.
This wraps up this episode of Merchants of Change. If you enjoyed this episode, the most meaningful way to say thanks is to submit a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're interested in working with us, please come find us at www.shiftgroup.io.